Welcome to the Epic Man Podcast, the show where we let our curiosities and theories run wild and sometimes talk entertainment news. I'm Josiah, and with me, my two friends and co-hosts, Ben and Mike. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Wow, that was very lackluster. Very lackluster.
So
Come on, I want
here.
some excitement up in here. We're talking about Bigfoot today. Like, who is not excited about that?
We didn't say Bigfoot. We definitely said Rock Apes.
Well, Rock Apes.
Because apparently there's
Rock Apes.
apparently
It's
a difference.
slash Bigfoot slash Yeti slash Sasquatch slash.
This is the Bigfoot episode.
Yeah, the Bigfoot episode.
And let me tell you what, I found out some crazy things this week. Some absolutely crazy things.
You know what they say about big feet, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
big feet, big footprints.
Big feet grow big monsters. What'd you find out this week, Josiah?
I'm pretty sure Ben is a size 7.
Yeah, what size are you, Ben? What size are you?
12.
Yeah, right.
12? Really?
12, yeah.
Really?
Some shoes are 12 and a half, some shoes are 11 and a half.
Oh,
well, I just blew that whole thing out of the water.
That's an entire foot difference, Ben.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, that's an entire foot difference, and you're just like, sometimes it's 12 and a half, sometimes it's 11 and a half. That's
what does this have to do with Rock Apes, Michael?
Sometimes I'm 7 foot, other times I'm 5'9".
You're height fluid. I like it.
Sometimes I'm 6'9", sometimes I'm real tall.
Nice.
So yeah, you know, we have some spicy stuff to talk about this week. First of all, Mike has his precious Rock Apes that he wants to talk. He's been waiting. He's been waiting, biting at the bit, just waiting for this opportunity to talk about his Rock Apes.
Let's pull back on the brakes.
I think you mean
a little bit.
The Batututs.
Okay, Ben.
I was what the Vietnamese called them.
Well,
hey Ben, are we Vietnamese?
No.
So then they're Rock Apes.
Okay, but I'm just going historic.
Are you Vietnamese?
Sounds like you're culturally appropriating here.
No.
Ben.
I am just if
you cannot pronounce the word correctly, then you should not say it. Call them Rock Apes like our veterans did, Ben, and respect our veterans.
Rock Apes.
Respect the veterans.
It's kind of like calling an enchilada an enchilada or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like,
who would do that?
You.
All right. You know what? It's fine. Rock Apes.
Rock Apes.
Rock.
Or whatever
Apes.
Ben said.
Yeah.
So Mike, you have some spicy stuff to talk about, and wow, that was really creepy. But okay.
Mike is possessed.
Yeah, apparently. And then I have some additional info I want to throw out there when it comes to Rock Apes and Bigfoot and all that type of stuff. So it seems like you guys really appreciated the way that we are kind of going with this new podcast direction and stuff. So we appreciate that. We appreciate the fact that you guys seem to be enjoying that. So Mike, go ahead. Just go ahead and dive right into your Rock Apes here. Let's see what we got going on here.
There's a bunch of veterans that saw a bunch of Yeti creatures, and they called them Rock Apes. So we're gonna move on.
Is that literally it?
No. So, dude, this whole thing. They first started seeing them. It was like 1969 is when they first started seeing them.
Hey, that's a good year to see them. That's a good year to see them.
But apparently, they were seen by Viet Cong, NVA, and American troops enough that there was an expedition organized in 1974 to try to capture at least one of these things.
You know what happened with that expedition? A whole lot.
Nothing. I'm assuming that they did not succeed.
They did not.
So they did not find one or capture one, but
they didn't even find.
They found American troops saw them. Vietnam troops saw them, and there was enough of them that people were like, okay, there must be something to this. There's actually there's a place in Vietnam now called Monkey Mountain because there were so many of these sightings.
Really?
Yeah.
It's true.
So I'm curious if this is something that because I mean you hear stories of like veterans and stuff seeing crazy stuff, you know,
Yeah.
from all sorts of different wars and things like that. So I wonder if that's kind of like what's going on here, or if they actually saw it.
I don't know.
If that is the case, that like the Vietnamese soldiers were also claiming to have seen rock apes, and that definitely adds a little bit of credibility to it. At least it seems
Yeah.
like.
I mean,
Well, the description of these creatures, a lot of people thought that they were orangutans, but orangutans have been extinct in Vietnam for thousands of years. So
Wow.
they were like, no, there's no way. You know what, Ben? Don't. I'm speaking. I am speaking. Oh, jeez. Anyways, no, but then they also tried to say it was these the gibbon monkeys, but they're too small, and
Yeah,
most
those
of
are
the
tiny.
times,
Those are tiny
yeah,
little
and
guys.
most of the time they're in trees. They don't walk around on like land.
Yeah.
And
they
these
have
things are
tails.
described as 6 foot, heavy built, and typically like reddish brownish hair.
So why were they called
So,
rock
yeah.
apes? Did they like hurl rocks at them or something?
So they used to say they called them rock apes because apparently like soldiers would throw rocks at them to get them to go away, and they'd grab the rocks and throw them back. Occasionally,
That's
they were
awesome.
also reported at throwing grenades back at soldiers as
Oh,
well.
snap.
Yeah. So there
Huh.
are actually two different expeditions. One in 1974 by one of the Vietnamese generals,
Mhm.
and then another expedition by a Vietnam university professor.
Okay.
But in the second expedition, strange human-like but not human footprints were found in the jungle. And he made casts of the footprints, but found no further evidence of the existence of the rock apes.
Interesting. So they led a pretty heavy expedition into this and didn't find anything really.
Nope.
Sounds
Well,
kind of
that-
like I mean, that sounds kind of like the whole Bigfoot thing too. Like, you
A
know,
little bit. It was multiple troops that claimed that they saw them.
there's
They
always
also
yeah. Go ahead.
they said that they were so like not scared of humans as well that it startled the troops. Yeah, and they would like sometimes just come around like a corner, or they come around like into an area of the jungle and just see them like walking like a few yards away from them and stuff.
Well,
no.
it doesn't sound like that they're very good at being elusive then. At that.
That's the thing. Yeah.
And if that's the case, then why couldn't anybody find anything with expeditions if they really didn't?
Well, they
fear
said,
humans?
Ben, that they found footprints.
Okay,
They're obviously
but
real.
Footprints isn't a living manifestation of a being.
You know what, Ben? I guess dinosaurs didn't exist either.
Well, they found a lot more
Nope.
than footprints from dinosaurs, Mike.
Did they though, Ben? They found some
Yeah,
bones.
a
Those
lot of
bones could
bones,
belong to
yep.
anything.
No,
They
no,
did.
no, not
They
not
did
when
community.
not when they
They've literally found like whole dinosaurs
Yeah.
like inside of rocks and
No,
stuff.
So I
you
don't
know
know
what?
what you're talking about.
No, I
because
don't know what you're talking about. Dinosaurs aren't real.
When they find a rock ape inside of a rock, then I'll believe them. But
They'll never find a rock ape inside of a rock. They don't live in rocks. They throw rocks.
they might live inside rocks, Mike.
Maybe
So-
they weren't scared of people until these guys started throwing grenades and shooting at them, and then they got scared.
okay, so this really is literally just sounding like Bigfoot to me, because this is the same thing with Bigfoot, where they always claim to find these. Oh, look at these giant foot plasters that we have, where we found these footprints and stuff. But that's literally the only thing that anybody can ever seem to find
Bigfoot,
of Bigfoot.
North America, rock apes, Vietnam.
So either these are all like cousins of the same type of unknown species that are really good at hiding, but apparently not good at covering their footprints, or this is all just a bunch of hooey, in my opinion.
Are you trying to say that our veterans are crazy?
Well, I mean, it was. I mean, there
we're gonna
was
lose all of our subscribers.
No.
if we start-
No, you,
ripping
you
on
can
veterans.
You can respect your veterans, but people have
But
seen,
they're finish
People
that
have-
sentence, Ben.
no, people have seen things, and maybe that was there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens during wartime.
yeah.
That's all I know. And
mean-
honestly, I don't know. I can't explain it. Obviously, I've never been in that situation, but I know there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. People probably see a lot of things. What is that fueled by, though?
I, for one, believe our veterans when they say they saw stuff.
They probably did see stuff.
I for one, believe them. I believe every veteran that said that they saw something in that jungle, Vietnamese or American. I don't want to be rude to any of our veterans, unlike Ben. who says that you didn't see
I mean,
anything.
I believe
And all of your accounts
yeah,
are
saw
lies.
stuff, but the
Yeah,
question
I
is
guess-
if what they saw was like real or not.
Right.
That's
It's
the question.
definitely real.
That's
It's
what
definitely
I'm saying. I'm
absolutely
saying
real.
like I don't doubt that people
can't
have
believe
seen
you
things
guys-
and veterans have seen things.
I can't
but,
believe this.
You know, there's
I
more.
just-
There's got to be more to it than that.
I just
Yeah,
can't
I
believe
mean,
you guys.
To be honest, I'm gonna say this right now. I have always been someone that leans more towards believing that there might be some sort of like Bigfoot out there or something than
sure.
not. I just it's just really it's difficult to fully believe that something like that is real when all we find are just like
Footprints.
footprints, and that's
Right.
that's it.
I-
So maybe they're just super elusive. That is a possibility, I guess.
I mean,
You
it's the
guys are killing
same.
me.
I feel the same way too. Is like I'm the one of the first to believe in stuff like the Loch Ness monster and stuff like that because
You
I
guys are
really
killing me.
think it's there because it fascinates me. But
Yeah.
we have such little information that there's no way to concretely prove that something does exist.
You guys are killing me, I swear.
So that's
Just-
actually that's something kind of interesting. Apparently, there's some people that claim that the North American Bigfoot has like connections to orangutans as well and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting.
Well, that's obviously bullcrap. Let's just
What?
get that out of the way right now.
How's that bullcrap?
There's no orangutans in America.
Dude, there might have been at one point,
Mm,
like thousands
pretty
of years
sure that-
ago.
No, that never happened.
I don't know. I think that that's a possibility.
You know what? I draw the
I think the
line
world was
at
so different,
orangutans.
like,
I draw the
thousands of
line
years
at
ago.
orangutans in America. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I mean, orangutans were native to places like Indonesia
Nope.
and Malaysia, but I don't think there was anything in
Okay, like
the Americas.
literally the entire like world was one continent at one point. How come there isn't a possibility that there could have been
You know,
in North America and stuff?
we're trying to talk about real concrete scientific evidence that these things existed. You guys are talking about Pangea
Oh,
and
first off,
orangutans in America. Listen,
I never once said
obviously,
orangutans were in America.
Orangutans couldn't even survive Vietnam. How are they going to live in America?
Well, there's reasons they didn't survive Vietnam, Mike. But I mean, it's the
What's
same reason.
reasons, Ben?
Probably poaching and other things like that. I mean, they were
So you're
killed by
accusing
people.
the Vietnamese of killing their own apes.
Yes, I am because that's how a lot of creatures go
Ben
extinct.
also
Mike.
apparently hates Vietnamese people.
That's not what I said.
Well, that's what you implied.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the information about like Bigfoot and stuff.
I'm gonna
and
be
it's-
honest with you. I'm just messing with you guys. I really don't. I just thought it was a fascinating story.
Oh, I
I
know.
do not believe these things exist at all.
What?
Wow, then all right. And then
Well, I'm gonna give them a little bit of a shadow of a
Same,
doubt and
yeah.
say that there's
Those
a
dudes were
possibility.
smoking so much weed and doing so many drugs in the Vietnamese jungle. Those dudes were probably high as a kite.
I think there's a possibility there might be something out there, but
Nope, that doesn't exist.
Um,
If you only find footprints, it doesn't exist. You got to find the bones and the rocks.
So, but the interesting thing is, and
Uh-huh.
I have some interesting information
All right,
because
I'm excited to hear what Josiah has. I'm ready for
okay,
this.
because I'm someone that likes to try to find like historical connections between things and stuff.
Okay.
And so I've been kind of doing some research about all of this.
Okay.
There's a lot of like stories from like Native American lore and stuff about giant hairy men that walk the woods and stuff. So there's something that I'm going to throw out there right now. But the thing that I
Giant
found
hairy men.
as the most interesting was that there's actually an Icelandic saga from like the 1200s that talks about the American Bigfoot. So this is pretty cool stuff. This is coming
The
from
hell you say?
this is coming from an excerpt of a manuscript from like the 1200s that was basically passed down in Iceland. And this is the transcript from it that talks about the Bigfoot. They roam the forests and watch us from the trees. They are not bears and they are not Skraelings, which were what their word for Native Americans. The Skraelings fear them and worship them, and they call them the Great Ones. The Great Ones have stolen 2 of our children, we believe, to devour them. At night, they howl like wolves to the moon. Some nights, they throw stones at our houses. Bjarni saw one clear enough one day. He saw a beast tall as a mountain and eyes black as night, with hair like a wolf's mane covering its whole body. So horror-stricken was he, Bjarni took his family and a ship and sailed from this place.
Now, call me crazy, but that sounds like a werewolf to me. Not Bigfoot.
Okay, you know what, Ben? This
How's
is the
like
Bigfoot
a wolf
episode.
with fur like a wolf?
I
Ben,
mean, that's a whole other rabbit trail.
That's a
of, like,
whole
the
nother
dog man and
rabbit
stuff.
trail.
But
Next week we
yeah.
will talk about werewolves. This week we're talking about Bigfoot. Let's try
No,
to keep
Ben
it
wants
in the Bigfoot
wants to
camp.
talk about his precious giant sloths and stuff.
Ben wants to get us off track. Ben wants to stop us
Hey,
because Ben knows what's really happening.
Giant sloths existed.
Ben wants you all to believe that Bigfoot doesn't exist, but he knows better. He just wants the evidence to be covered up. Don't listen to him.
No, according to the time that this article was written, which was
Now-
just April of last year, there is more in this transcript about like
snap.
Bigfoot and stuff, but the translation is still in work right now. So
Oh, interesting. So,
So-
what,
this
this
is current.
this
yeah,
is an
this is literally
Icelandic.
like from last year. Yeah.
So you said this is
Wow.
Icelandic about North America.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Very
pretty
interesting.
interesting stuff, and I don't know, like that could be anything from like a bear really to
But didn't they say it wasn't a bear? Or it didn't look like a bear, or didn't whatever? Didn't sound like a bear? Or...
it doesn't say anything about a bear in here. It doesn't look like.
I swear you said something about a bear.
I don't know, Ben. Maybe if you listened to Josiah and anything he said, you wouldn't have known. that he
Oh
didn't
yeah,
say
it
that.
does.
It is. I knew I heard it. Yeah,
They're not bears, and they're not scralings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not bears.
Come on, Ben. They're not
Interesting.
bears.
Yeah, Mike.
So man, that's
I didn't
so,
say they
that's
were
so
bears.
interesting. That's so interesting to me. Like,
Yeah.
I never said that they were bears, Ben.
So they didn't think they were bears.
and there were also things with the scralings that the Native Americans saw and revered too.
Yeah.
And Native
Maybe
Americans
worshipped?
do have, like, it has been confirmed that there are some legends and lore from Native Americans that have Bigfoot in them.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's been the case for a long, for,
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yep.
So that's interesting. Though. That's cool. That was this past year, 2020.
Yeah. Yep. So
Well,
but
what's
we're-
interesting,
Mhm.
just kind of in part of that, because I
yeah.
think that's interesting, is there was, I mean, and this is a little off topic, but just even the fact that there was like cave drawings and stuff that they found from Native Americans, like from a long time ago, that even depicted like giant flying creatures that weren't like birds, that looked like dinosaurs and stuff. So, I mean, obviously these guys were encountering things
That we
You
don't
know,
see today.
that we don't see today. And if, let's say this was an ancient species of something, and let's say there was 100 or 1,000 left, and some of these Native Americans maybe eventually over time killed them off or drove them
Yeah.
away, or stuff like that. I mean, it's very possible that some of these species have gone extinct before we ever
Yeah.
could come over here to explore them.
And I
Yeah.
guarantee you, like, the world, like, 5,000 or 6,000 years ago was so crazy and wildly different and insane. So, I mean, that's a whole other thing we could talk about, is like some of the things like Nephilim and all that crazy stuff too. So
we're
there's-
getting into it deep down.
there's insane. I bet you there was so much like insane stuff back then that
Oh,
our
yeah.
minds couldn't even like accept today.
Yeah.
So, and there's also some interesting stuff. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this, but even like going, I guess, across the ocean to the Yeti and stuff. Apparently, like, Alexander the Great demanded to like see a Yeti. I don't know if you guys have heard this story before.
Really?
So let me see if I can find the article here that talks about this.
Yetis would have been in like Nepal, right? Somewhere like that.
Yeah, it was like in
over
the-
north of India, right? Hold on.
yeah. That's like the general region of where they would have been and stuff. So the search to find the Yeti can be traced back to the time of Alexander the Great, who in 326 BC set out to conquer the Indus Valley. Having heard stories of the Yeti, he demanded to see one for himself, but local people told him that they were unable to present one because the creatures could not survive at that low an altitude.
Mm.
So
Yeah, because they would have been up in the mountains.
yeah. Yep. It is
Interesting.
suggested that the Yeti myth originated in Tibet and reached Nepal via the Sherpa, descendants of families who immigrated from the Khams region of Tibet across the Himalayan range in the middle of the 16th century.
Yeah, so it would have been up in the Himalayas,
Mhm.
way up there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's just very interesting to me. Like all these different countries seem to claim to have some form of Bigfoot or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
You
it
start to
could have.
wonder.
Yeah. Like is it an animal or do you think that it could be something that's not an animal, like some sort of
Yeah.
ancient human type of species or something? Like we had like Neanderthals at one point. Could it be some sort of like
So-
strain of that or something or
Yeah.
what?
Before he beat him to death with rocks. You know?
Second here.
Because
Stupid Neanderthals.
there are like there have been like strange like different kinds of like human skulls that have been found that
Mhm.
show that there could have been other kinds of humans in a way and
Yeah.
stuff at one point.
Yeah.
So could these be like some sort of like really hairy version of mankind that maybe was around? Like, I mean, there was obviously like an ice age at one point too. Maybe they are hairy because of that or something, and they just
Yeah.
because of
Hey.
inbreeding they never grew out of it or something. I don't
Have
know.
you guys ever heard of this story? I think you might find this really interesting. So this was from his article was published back in 2017, but in 1951, a British explorer named Eric Shipton, looking for an alternative route up Mount Everest, found a footprint that appeared to be humanoid. He took a picture, and the mystery of the Yeti, a Sherpa word for wild man, cast a spell over the world. So he wrote, Daniel Taylor was an author of a book called Yeti, The Ecology of a Mystery. Has been searching for the signs of the abominable snowman in the high Himalayas since he was a child. So talking from his home, he explains that what he thinks made the human-like footprint. So apparently this guy that went up there found a huge footprint that looked humanoid, but it didn't look like a person's,
Mhm.
like a human being's. And that's kind of where like a bunch of Yeti like lore and stuff came from, was because they were like, wow, this is something totally different, and it's kind of in that area where they would expect a Yeti to be.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting. It's interesting.
Obviously,
stuff.
it means nothing because it was a footprint. And those don't mean anything. Though.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
look at this footprint though. Here, do you want me to share the image with you?
I absolutely don't want to see the
Yeah.
footprint, Ben. I don't want to
I
see
mean,
the feet
you
pics
wanna-
of the
you
Yeti.
wanna- you
I
wanna
don't want to
see
see Yeti feet pics, Ben. I don't know what kind of stuff you're into. I'm not wanting to see the Yeti feet.
I mean,
I just wish that people could find literally like at least something other than a footprint,
right.
Or a blurry video of a man in the street.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's
Yeah.
plenty
I
of
mean,
those
this-
like really scratchy audio tapes or blurry videos or whatever, and I don't know. It
This
seems
is
like
a pretty crazy photo though.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean it is. Like he could have made it himself though too. Like that's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
Ben, did you share it with the group or did you share it? Why
I
didn't you
shared
just
with the group.
So basically, for people that are listening to the podcast and stuff, like it's just like it's you can probably find on Google Images pretty easily, but it's like there's a pickaxe next to it, and it's like in the snow. There's like a really huge like big toe, and then it's definitely not a human shape, I would
No.
say at all. So that's the interesting thing about it. It's very broad. The toes are all weird. But yeah, like I don't know. He could have made it himself for all we know, and just
Well, something interesting about the rock ape, which I just looked up as well.
yeah.
The guy that found the footprint of the rock ape found it in 1970,
Hmm.
before they even went on their first expedition.
Really?
Yeah. So
does he have a
even
picture of
was
that?
like, that's what I was trying to look for to see if I could find it, but I have not seen one yet.
Okay.
But yeah, like even that was like a big deal because that was before they started reporting stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Fascinating stuff.
It's interesting.
So it seems like the Yetis, the Rock Apes, and the Bigfoot, like you said earlier, Josiah, are all kind of a weird it's like a weird version of the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it could also be cultures' stories and like legends that they've cultivated over years.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
But that's kind of passed down amongst a bunch of different areas in the world and stuff, and that could
Yeah.
be where all these different ones came from, and it's not actually a thing. So
hmm
you know,
Yep, exactly. And you know, that's kind of one of the things, I guess, when it comes to like even like the Icelandic saga that I was talking about earlier and stuff. Like
Right.
the Vikings and Icelanders and the Norsemen were known to, you know, kind of embellish stories a little bit and
Tell
stuff.
tall
So
tales.
yeah, so it could possibly be something like that as well, which is always a possibility. But it is interesting nonetheless that even if it is a tall tale, the fact that they still have like even like the Icelanders have their own version of Bigfoot and stuff as well that they talk about. So it's just really interesting.
So something that think is kind of interesting. If you look up even just oh, what is it called? I can't even pronounce his name. Gigantopithecus.
Gigantopithecus.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was like a giant ape that looked very similar to the rock apes. I mean, and those were things that they said have only been wiped out about 100,000 years ago. So it's possible that some of these things were living, you know, and walking around, and maybe they found the last vestiges of them in Vietnam that they were walking around. And it's very possible if there was only 10 or 11 of them, or, you know, 20 of them, that they encountered one area of them and they could have been wiped out during the Vietnam War for all we know, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, even if you look at the Gigantopithecus and like where it originated, or identifications have been, it's Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all in the Asia area and stuff. So
yep. And you know, if we were all connected, or, you know, even, you know, going up, if they migrated north, cross the land bridge that used to be there between Russia and America. I mean, like, there's a lot of chance for migration and stuff. These things were moving around and could have ended up in different places. And maybe the reason we can't find a lot of them is because maybe they died up north and are frozen in ice. And, you know,
and
I mean, it was just reported that there's like hundreds of thousands of like mammoth like bodies like up in the Arctic that they can't get to because it's so cold and frozen.
Yeah, exactly.
They do mention that the Gigantopithecus is like a distant relative to the orangutan. So you know, that could, you know, and that could make sense why people were somewhat confused and thought that they might have been orangutans at first, because of that.
Yeah,
they both I mean, they both were known to live in Vietnam at some point.
Right.
Some point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
It is.
So that could be the answer right there.
It could be. Yeah.
There's maybe a Gigantopithecus that somehow survived in a, you know, climate that was no longer necessarily working for them, or found some way to survive. You know, because, you know, as so what's his name says in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. It's one of my favorite things. True. You know, sometimes these things that shouldn't exist anymore do, and that could be an explanation there, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably kind of where I lean, is that it's probably if it is out there and stuff, like it is some form of ape or something probably, and it's just, you know, there's probably not very many of them left and stuff, so it's probably easy for it to elude humans and stuff and whatever else. So but I wonder. I mean, so. But people always talk about how it walks on its hind legs and stuff as well.
Yep.
Which I don't know if the Gigantopithecus would have done that or whatever. You know.
I'm sure it did. I mean,
probably.
It's, you know, gorillas and stuff.
Gorillas do
that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't know that I think sometimes because we want to know more, like the legend almost grows, and so people have these high expectations that like the thing is going to be like, oh my gosh, you know, it's Bigfoot and it's going to be like some intelligent creature or some like human like thing, and I think it would just be, if anything, like just an unintelligible like ape of some kind, you know?
Yeah,
right.
And not the giant like beast that we think like or assume it could be, like a lot of people do, where they think like it's, you know, completely like sentient and able to speak in language and, you know, stuff like that.
Exactly. So, and it seems like, you know, people are still out there trying to find it and stuff, so maybe there will be more evidence at some point of people finding it. So
Well, it's the same. You know, it's the same reason that people are still trying to find things like the giant sloth. I know Mike hates to hear about it, but
Oh my god!
But the Megatherium though was
You've been spinning. You've been waiting. He's been sitting on this for weeks now.
And the
Let's talk about
Megatherium
your giant sloth.
No, it's not something we even have to talk about.
Let's by all means.
Well, the Megatherium, though, there's some people that genuinely think some of them may still exist somewhere in South America.
Yeah. If you're at home, by the way, please take a shot every time Ben says Megatherium.
Megatherium.
Every time. Because he'll say it a lot.
Don't do that.
He doesn't even know that he's doing it.
Don't do that.
Megatherium, guys. Guys, what about Megatherium?
So that's something that we'll have to talk about more next week. Because
I don't want to talk about that.
I'm sure Ben has a lot of
that sloth next week.
Spicy information about.
I don't want to talk about that sloth next week.
You would have more respect for the sloth if you only knew about the sloth, Mike.
I mean, the more you know, the more respect you have. So
that's not true because apparently Ben doesn't respect the veterans that saw this Rock Ape.
Mike, how many times do we have to go over this? One of them is confirmed to have existed.
Yeah. Which one, Ben?
Not the Rock Apes.
I'm sorry. We just talked about Gigantopithecus and that was real, and it fits the description. It fits the description of a rock ape, and that was proven to be real. So how do you know that that's not what it is?
We don't know if that's what it is.
Your negativity, Ben, is just going to be the downfall of humanity.
No negativity here.
That's why Bigfoot doesn't exist. Ben killed them all with his negativity.
That's right.
Every time Ben says that a Bigfoot doesn't exist, one of them dies in the past.
Yes. Goodbye.
Oh Bigfoot. Man. So, I think that we covered this Bigfoot thing pretty well.
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So, do you want to move on to people eating other humans now?
No. I don't want to talk about that.
I want to talk about it. So I know Mike wants to talk about it.
Just like Ben with his cute little giant sloth. Josiah's been sitting on this one for a while too. He really wants to talk about this, and we probably should give him the room to talk about it.
Yeah. So this past week, there's been a lot of juicy information coming out about alleged information, I should say. I don't think anything's been 100%
it's all alleged.
Confirmed yet.
Yeah.
But believe all women. So Armie Hammer, who is an actor who's been in things like Call Me by Your Name and I don't know, a whole bunch of other stuff.
He was in Lone Ranger. Let's do something positive. Lone Ranger, Man from Uncle.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Let's ignore that Call Me by Your Name movie. Let's not talk about that one.
So he apparently wanted to this is so weird. He wanted to cut off a girlfriend's toe and keep it in his pocket and make her his property until she died, according to a leaked Instagram rape and cannibalism message. And there's a lot of weird stuff coming out about this. And yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there was weird stuff about, taking someone's rib, barbecuing it and eating it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And so apparently since then, Armie Hammer's been dropped from a movie that he was going to be in because of these allegations.
Well, he dropped out of the movie for the safety of his family.
Well, I mean, there's kind of conflicting things about that because apparently I don't remember which movie it was that he was supposed to be in. I'm trying to find it here. He was going to be in a movie with
Jennifer Lopez, and she claims to have basically cut him off because of this information that's been coming out. But he is apparently also claiming that he quit the movie or something. So, yeah, he says he quit it for the safety of his family.
Right.
Well, apparently his one of his ex-girlfriends, what is her name? Courtney Vakukovich. I don't know, Vasikovic or whatever. Okay. So that he used to talk about wanting to break one of her ribs and barbecue it, or she's it was like dating a wannabe Hannibal Lecter. You talk about roasting parts of her body and stuff.
Dude, that's oh man.
Yeah.
Eek.
Wild. Yeah.
I mean,
he had a secret Instagram at one point too, where he shared videos of women and
all
kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. And then there was a video, there was some interview he did in 2012 where he was like talking about like, you know, controlling women and like how he liked really rough stuff and like choking and all that kind of stuff, which like you're into what you're into. But he was like, later they were like, what's that all about? And he's like, oh, just don't do interviews drunk. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, that's the kind of stuff you talk about in interviews when you're drunk. Like,
yeah.
and like, so I mean, on the like not cynical side, like you kind of hope like maybe the dude's just a little weird and he just like is kind of into stuff. But then also you're like, well, when you have like millions of dollars and you're like a high profile guy and like, I don't know. Also, he's been known for like calling other people out and calling other actors and actresses out and stuff for their crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So now, yeah, because like at one point he was like the front runner for like Batman. Like everybody was like, dude, this guy would make a great Batman. And then he acted like such a jerk about it that like everybody was like, nah, never mind.
Yeah.
So like now, I don't know. It's just interesting to see like, okay, well, now the shoe's on the other foot and this guy's
he's someone that likes to claim the moral high ground a lot.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this is coming out is kind of hilarious. So
now he's the one getting barbecued.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's, I mean, it seems like for the most part, it's all just kind of like talk and stuff. And
well, right. And I mean, and it was apparently based off of, I guess, leaked Instagram messages, or someone leaked some private DMs or something that kind of laid out a bunch of like really messed up stuff that was being sent to different women.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously like that is believable to a certain extent. And he does have some just weird stuff on his Instagram.
Ben knows because Ben follows.
No, I'm just looking at, I'm seeing the page there, the post here.
Right.
But it's interesting. It's very interesting.
It is very, very interesting.
Ben has a man crush.
Kind of messed up.
I know Ben really likes Army Hammer a lot.
Ben loves Army Hammer. Just the other day he was telling me, he's like, man, if I could be one actor in the world, it'd be Army Hammer.
No, that would not be my choice. Let me tell you that.
But then now we're here and he's like, well, that guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
You heard him list off all those movies he was in. He knew.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Huge fan.
He knows that every movie that guy's ever been in, he knows.
That's definitely not true. But
no, it's just weird and it is like a weird like thing of, well,
he was also a Social Network too, apparently.
Well,
was he? Oh, you know what? He played like he played the twins that Eisenberg, not Jesse Eisenberg, freaking.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Facebook man stole the idea from.
Yeah.
So
the Athletic
I like how
Twins
Ben
or whatever.
all of a sudden remembered that.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what role he was in. He was like, I don't know anything about this guy. Well,
it happens that I just watched that very recently, Mike.
It's a great movie.
Hammer.
It's a really good movie.
Really good movie.
I actually have not seen that movie.
Really?
Well, then
dude,
you're just missing out.
It's worth the watch.
I just didn't want to watch a movie about Facebook because I don't really like Facebook.
No, it makes you hate. It makes you hate Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. But
I don't want to hate anybody, Ben, except you.
Oh.
If you started your own social media, I would do a movie about you and talk I'd share all the crazy things that you say and do, like wanting to eat Army Hammer's toes and stuff.
What?
I just thought that the movie was going to be like really boring, but it was really interesting.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I just have never got around to watching it.
Well, you should, Mike. You should.
I don't want to watch it though. Like I don't.
All right, so I have one more bit of news here to talk about.
Geez.
Oh no.
You know what? And, I don't like your news anymore.
Oh, okay.
Does it involve more cannibalism?
Your news makes me sad.
No more cannibalism.
Yeah, your news makes me sad.
The cannibalism is over.
Well, okay.
No more cannibalism.
All right.
We're moving on to a more well, I can't say that this is more positive, but we'll see.
Oh, jeez. See, that's what I'm saying.
It's pending positive. So basically, this week we got the official synopsis for the Lord of the Rings show that's going to be coming.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I actually was really excited to read that. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sure you were, Ben. I'm sure
I was.
Mr.
But hey,
Game of Thrones season 8 is fantastic.
When have I said those words?
Dude,
you definitely said them before.
I literally remember us arguing about Game of Thrones season 8 after we were done watching it. Like it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And I'm like, no.
I said that at the end, Bran. I won't spoil it. I won't spoil it.
Yeah, I don't think Mike's gotten the end of
I
it.
already know what happened, but I don't know
Yeah.
if other people do. I don't want to spoil
So I
everything
won't
for
spoil
everybody
it.
else.
I won't
Yeah.
spoil it. But anyway, the synopsis for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So, Amazon Studios' forthcoming series brings to screens for the very first time the heroic legends of the fabled Second Age of Middle-earth's history. This epic drama is set thousands of years before the events of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and will take viewers back to an era in which great powers were forged, kingdoms rose to glory and fell to ruin, unlikely heroes were tested, hope hung by the finest of threads, and the greatest villain that ever flowed from Tolkien's pen threatened to cover all the world in darkness. Beginning in a time of relative peace, the series follows an ensemble cast of characters, both familiar and new, as they confront the long-feared re-emergence of evil to Middle-earth. From the darkest depths of the Misty Mountains to the majestic forests of the elf capital of Lindon, to the breathtaking island kingdom of Numenor, to the furthest reaches of the map, these kingdoms and characters will carve out legacies that live on long after they are gone. So that is the synopsis, the official synopsis for the Lord of the Rings show that's going to be coming from Amazon.
I like that.
Judging based on this little bit of information alone, if this was literally the only thing that I knew about the show, I would say this sounds really awesome. But based on other things that I know about the show, it's hard for me to get excited about it, but I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to be slightly hopeful, if anything.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Now they've filmed the show, right? Or they filmed like the first season, right? No?
They have.
I don't know. I don't know a whole lot of what's going on.
They have quite a bit of it filmed already for the first season.
But what I keep hearing is that there's all these conflicting reports on if they've scrapped most of it and are refilming it and stuff like that. I mean, my thing is,
when is it supposed to air?
In next year, like in 2022.
Yeah.
Which tells me that they don't have nearly as much filmed, or they're not nearly as ready as they keep saying.
Or they're maybe redoing it because of different stuff.
What I keep hearing, like all the conflicting reports, is that like it's not doing great, or like it was looked at and people did not receive it well, and so like they've been like back to the drawing board, and there's been multiple firings, and so it's kind of hard to know. And also the other thing is like when you have a project and you have like an IP as big as like Lord of the Rings, like why is nothing being said about it? Like we were seeing stuff about The Witcher, but like we knew about Henry Cavill's casting in The Witcher before they even started. Like they finished.
Well, we know pretty much the whole cast.
Yeah, but like why? Like what I'm saying is there's a big deal. Like we knew a ton about The Witcher before the show had even started filming. Like there's been like hype buildup for a lot of this stuff. Like you have a year to start building hype for this thing, and it's one of the biggest IPs in like the world. I mean, shoot, anytime Disney signs on anybody for anything, even if it's 2-3 years out, people know about it and are pumped about it, you know, or they make mention of it before, you know, and we've heard like almost nothing from Amazon about this series, which that to me is like the biggest thing is like, there's virtually like no information except a bunch of conflicting reports about what is good or what isn't good about the show, and we just now get a synopsis for the show, and a lot of times like that's done well after like filming is done, or like, you know, I mean, I don't know, it just seems like I mean there's not a lot of confidence behind this project.
I mean, it could just be that they're trying to keep it under wraps as well, you know, just playing devil's advocate. Like I don't think that like with some of the other Amazon shows like The Boys, we really knew anything about it until like it was coming out and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It could just be that. Maybe that's just the way that Amazon likes to do things, but I don't know. Just based on like third-party reports and whatever else that I keep hearing about the show, I'm not like overly thrilled by it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see as we get more information. The synopsis sounds fine. It sounds fine to me.
The synopsis sounds good.
Yeah.
It was nice to finally get one.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know, like, you know, we had stuff with like Star Wars is in like the crapper right now. And Disney's constantly releasing new information about Star Wars. And they're constantly trying to like release new stuff to keep it hyped. I mean, and that's been a complete train wreck and stuff, but like, I don't know. For me personally, when we look at like Marvel and Phase 4. Like they've been dead silent about Phase 4 until they felt they had something worth like talking about.
Yeah.
And for Amazon to not be talking about something as huge and as like important as like Lord of the Rings. I mean, we haven't really got anything new Lord of the Rings since the Hobbit movies, you know.
Right.
So it just is like it's a little bit of a red flag for me personally that like they haven't been more excited about it. And maybe when the hype train finally hits, it'll blow up and they'll be like, let's go. But that kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of people that are getting super hyped about this, but I'm still just kind of playing the waiting game to see what we actually find out about the actual show and stuff first before I get hyped about it. But
absolutely.
But yeah, so I think that's probably it for this week.
Whoa. Wait a minute.
Oh,
I just got one thing.
Okay.
Just kind of a thing. I saw this yesterday. Just a little thing.
Okay.
Because we were just talking about, you know, stuff and mentioned Marvel. Chris Evans.
Oh no.
Is in talks to sign on to play Captain America again in the MCU.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Apparently that's the thing.
That is the thing.
He denies it, but who knows if that's BS or who knows if that's true.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that means nothing because literally like these actors will literally look right at you and like right to your face and be like, I've never spoken to Disney in my life.
Yeah.
As their movie is about to come out. Like
yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's interesting. I mean, because we just heard that they're talking to Robert Downey Jr. about signing on to come back for Ironheart. And now we're talking about, you know, now we're hearing that they're talking to Chris Evans. And it kind of feels like this is like almost damage control from them being like, oh my gosh, like Phase 4 has nothing going for it. So let's get all these old guys back into the fray.
Yeah. That's kind of what it feels like to me, because it felt like they were kind of like, oh, you know, this is a nice bow on everything as far as the first 3 phases go at the end of Endgame and stuff. Like we're looking ahead into the future, and now they're bringing back a lot of old cast members and stuff.
Yeah, and it hasn't even been like it's been like a year, 2 years since the last movie, so it hasn't even been like time to be like nostalgic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah. I don't know. It seems like that they gave it like a really good ending at the end of Endgame, and now they're just kind of like,
I agree.
I don't know. It seems like they're really just kind of ruining that in a way by bringing everybody back again. So
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if they actually do it.
Yeah.
And it's possible that they could just like, at least when it comes to like Chris Evans and stuff, he might just have like small roles. Like maybe he's just going to make some appearances or something. That's always just a possibility as well. So I don't know. Yeah.
I just thought that was a little cherry on top of the whole thing.
Yeah. Just a nice little
nugget.
Little nugget of stuff here.
Spicy little nug.
Some more mythology, some more like,
yeah.
Is this real? Is this not? Chris Evans is basically Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dude. Dude, you just figured it out.
Yeah. He's the connection.
How did I not see this? Literally. Chris Evans is Bigfoot.
It's just levels. Sometimes you don't realize you put it all together until you find it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is crazy,
Mind blown. That's gonna be that is the title of today's episode. Chris Evans is Bigfoot.
I could see Chris Evans walking around the Himalayas and stuff.
Naked. All furry.
Hairy. Sweaty. Throwing
I'm starting
rocks
to
at
think
people.
that this is Mike's fantasy the more that I look at his face.
Listen, that's fine. I'd rather have that fantasy than wanting to suck on Army Hammer's toes any day. Sweet barbecued toes. Listen, Ben, however you get there is how you get there. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. I'd rather have a hairy Yeti Chris Evans any day.
Yeah, I think I would.
Well,
so
on that note,
with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to this podcast or watching it or however you experience our podcast. And we will, I guess, see you all next week with some more spicy hot takes and theories and everything else. So
like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe, leave a review. Thank you everyone, and we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.